So if you were living in the quarantine of 2020 and watched as a pandemic completely changed our entire way of living, you probably enjoyed watching the second biggest global pandemic of that time, Tiger King. Its ability to captivate an audience into a story that was almost more wild than the one that we were living in at that moment was astounding. It was the story of a man whose love and life mission was to know tigers and letting the world know how important they were to him. And somewhere along the journey of becoming a king, he lost sight of what he really loved. Or rather, what he loved all along, by losing everything that he built, including the things that he really cared about. So how does a piece of art have such a massive impact on the world around us, to the point where it catalysts a conversation with the President of the United States like this?
I don't know. I know nothing about it. You think he didn't do it? Are you on his side? Would you recommend a pardon? I'll take a look. Is that Joe Exotic? That's Joe Exotic.
And discovering that why and how we can apply it in our own independent films is my aim today. I believe there are a handful of things in this docuseries that make it amazing. And no, it's not merely the subject matter of tigers or the out-of-this-world owners of these majestic cats. While these did help amplify the value of the film, it didn't create its value alone. There were master painters behind these films. And I think there is quite a bit we can learn from their choices, and even ways we could apply them in a small story or an everyday project. And one of the most important things that they did to tell this story was giving you the opportunity to choose to fall in love with Joe Exotic. Mind you, my opinions on this topic might be controversial, but something that I think we can all say we shared throughout this experience was a level of empathy for this wild, unsafe, and at times all around bad guy. They trusted you as an audience to come to your own conclusions. Was the Tiger King a hero? And to many of us who thirst for this idea of adventure, family, and purpose, might find ourselves saying yes. The filmmakers explore his ability to care for the people around him and understand their desire for purpose just as much as his own. They show his adversaries, their flaws, their shortcomings, his rivals, their experiences, their evils. They show his struggles, his desires to overcome them. And in doing all of these things, they give us the unique opportunity to consider the possibility, is this convicted man actually that bad of a guy? And this is the unique power our craft has as filmmakers. We are able to allow people to question what to think about right and wrong. And mind you, I'm not saying that Joe Exotic is a good person. I believe everything he chose to do was out of his selfish ambition and desire to feel passionate happiness at the expense of everyone around him. And ultimately, it led him to where he finds himself now. But no critic can argue that this film didn't cause us to question our view of the world. Many films, and even Hollywood films, fail to accomplish this in their goals to reach an impactful end to their stories. It's simply much easier to lift up the heroes as perfect people, or even likable, as often referred to by many writers. But in being likable, they are failing to be lovable. To be loved is a unique phenomenon that many people on this planet never get the chance to experience. Few say it better than Leo Buscaglia. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To hope is to risk pain. To try is to risk failure, but the risks must be taken, because the greatest hazard in our lives is to risk nothing. And I believe that this is the risk that many films take. They carry the hazardous journey of merely being likable, creating characters that we can simply relate to rather than actually care about. Mind you, all of this makes sense. None of us enjoy the feeling of being rejected for our uniqueness. It's easier to be likable, but to never make the bold choice to be unapologetically lovable comes with the risk of people not loving who we really want to be. And I believe you cannot truly love something that is merely likable. Penny and the Sparrow puts it best in the course of their song, "I've seen you and I've known you and I'm not going anywhere. I've seen you and I've known you and I'm not going anywhere. I've seen you, and I've known you, and I'm not going anywhere. To love someone is to fully know them and to still allow them to hold such high value in your heart. To be fully known by someone is to risk not being loved because of the flaws you carry underneath your own story. Let's briefly look at another character from a Netflix original to illustrate this. Wilson Fisk was the major antagonist through the majority of the series Daredevil. He was a strong and intelligent leader of a crime syndicate in the city of Hell's Kitchen. Throughout the series, you're able to discover much of what made him a villain. From murder to blackmail, there was nothing that he wasn't willing to do to get what he wanted. But for some reason throughout the series, the filmmakers chose to let you experience something unique about who Wilson Fisk was. He loved and was loved. And for some reason, it made sense. He was not a stranger to the feeling of empathy, and the story even allowed you to question if what he was doing was wrong. In his own words, love is the perfect prison.
Until I discovered love, I thought I would explode with the sense of power and freedom that she brought me. You can build a prison of stone in a truly determined man and find a way out. Love is the perfect prison. Inescapable.
Director Drew Goddard chose to allow the character arc of Kingpin and Daredevil to span 3 seasons and 39 episodes, without a complete resolve of who he was until the last episode. And throughout the series, all of the time we spent getting to know this individual Wilson Fisk gave us the ability to know him and to choose to either love him or hate him. And in doing so, gave us the time, the distance, and the depth we needed to care about this character. This decision is what gave the climax so much value and produced such a memorable scene in the final act like this.
That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you.
And the emotional weight that scene had on so many of our lives wouldn't have been possible if the filmmakers didn't give us the chance and the time to fall in love with Wilson Fisk. This is the dilemma of our day and age with filmmaking. It is financially safer to create something likable than it is to risk the possibility to create something truly magnificent. And this is why I believe Tiger King had such a unique impact on its viewers and such a global reach for the way that we think about the world. Say what you will about the various characters in the story. Whoever you believe was actually wrong at the end of the journey doesn't change the fact that you cared about the experience that he went through. And the beauty of this film that makes it so magnificent isn't the tigers, the money, and even the friendship, but the choices the filmmakers made allowed us to consider the possibility that our opinions, however bold they may be about this man, might be wrong. And at the end of the day, it didn't answer those questions for us. It trusted us enough as an audience to ask that question and let us answer it for ourselves.